Hey guys, Harv here, and welcome back to the Kerbal Space Program. This is the Inter-Planetary Fleet, the start of our next ultimate, or our next ultimate? Doesn't that kind of defeat the point? Shouldn't the ultimate be the last one? Yes, this is our ultimate mission, our ultimate program, and we're starting it off with the central part, which is undoubtedly the most important part of the space fleet. So, here is what I came up with. The Interplanetary Fleet, the core, the main module that everything is going to be docked to. Using the orange tanks, which I know I shouldn't be using, but oh well. It doesn't impact that much on performance, so it's okay. And wow, what is this? We have many more docking ports. But the thing is, they're not all going to be used for individual vessels. The way I've laid it out, I've tried to get it so that they line up perfectly. You can see here, if we have a standard fuel tank, we should be able to put that right, we should be able to put some docking ports right on the side of it. It's a bit hard to see because I can't get it to line up without connecting it. But it's just big enough that we can put docking ports on the front and the back, and we should be able to connect it right up via multiple docking ports, which we now know to be possible. Luckily, those ones also happen to be the exact same size as these ones, which is what we use in our lander. And also the big orange tanks that we use, or the two big single ones, that is, they match up with these outside docking modules. Hopefully they do. I think I've got it almost perfect. Like, I have a way of telling is that I have these struts here put directly in between the two silver lines, and you can see that they're at the bottom as well. That's a bit of a reference point to hopefully get the multiple docking ports lined up as well as possible. So, if we do a quick rundown of the changes I've made, well, this is our central core, so it is still moduled, it is still manned by a 3-man capsule, but there's no abort system, there's no decoupler to try and make things a bit slimmed down, try and trim off the fat, so if things go wrong at launch, then things go wrong, and we can cast it off as a simulation. This has got the advanced SAS unit, and that is the advanced SAS unit, the one on the entire fleet. Nothing else will have an advanced SAS unit on it. This is going to be in charge of controlling everything so that we don't get any conflicting autopilots or stability enhancers. It's got a big RCS tank instead of having all the multiple RCS little ones such as these, because that by only having the one we don't have to go through several different sources if we want to try and move fuel around the ship. It's got some satellite dishes on the side, which is quite nice, and of course all the docking ports are now on struts, so that everything can fit into one body. I hope. I mean, there should be room. I was considering trying to build the entire thing out in the VAB to start off with, and see how that worked out, but we can't sadly do that. Some reason we can't actually build the entire thing, but you can probably guess, or imagine, if you have that tank there, we'd have the 4 engines on the outside, same number of engines, and then we'd have the landers docked on the inside part. You know, kind of like, almost like that. But anyway, let's get this underway. And of course the ascent module has more engines to try and deal with the extra weight. Let's see how this goes. Let us see indeed. Just make sure my action groups are correct. The toggle gimbal is there. The comm dish open is there. And the toggle gimbal for that engine is also there in case we need it. 1, 2 and 3, that's all we need. No abort system! So if things go wrong for good. The sun is shining and the ship is completely fueled up, ready to be launched. In 3, 2, 1... There we go, we can turn off gimbaling. Like so. Right. Hopefully. hopefully this will work well. We have pretty much everything set up that we need, and we can probably afford to throttle up a little more. The overheating really isn't a problem at this stage, at this point in time. Do comms dishes snap off if you open them during ascent? in the atmosphere? I don't know. I really don't. And I don't want to risk it to find out. Now I've got a few things to talk about. I just came out of a 2.5 hour recording session with Pleborian, who I'm sure you all know, the procrastinator himself. And we did some Saints Row the Third, and that will be going up on his channel. Not on my channel, because I don't have the spec required as of yet to record Saints Row in any good quality graphics, but he certainly does, so it's going to be up there on his channel, and I'll link you all to it when that happens. Probably won't be too long, we hope. There we go, detach those. Smooth. You can see we still have struts to try and keep everything balanced, but it's not working particularly well because the whole ship's pointing north instead of 90 degrees. There we go. Right. I think things are going well, I hope. We're certainly going fast enough, and we're certainly pointing high enough. There we go. We have nothing surrounding our planet, so we should be okay to put this into any orbit we like, without fear of clashing with any other space stations or whatever. Yeah, so all the other space stations are around Juna. Now, where are we going to send this? Where are we going to send this space station? That's a good question. I'm thinking Lathe, because that gives us the options of using atmospheric engines. The problem is Lathe is so far away, and all the other moons surrounding Joule are problems and distractions that could affect how well things go. But I guess we'll see further down the development cycle. We'll probably set aside one of the missions, one of the episodes, to see what planet suits our needs the best. That might be a good idea, I think. And this is lasting remarkably long, this engine is. Very nice. Let's set the moon as a target, if we can. Set as target, there we go. We'll be able to adjust our inclination later on. We can detach and burn. There we go. And we'll get rid of... oh wait, we'll get rid of gimbal with that. There we go. Right, so I'm pointing just a bit above to try and reduce our inclination somewhat. Trying to bring it up a bit more northward. Or is it southward? I think it's southward actually. There we go. Alright, I guess we're going for a 100-kilometer orbit. That seems about right. I think I'd prefer 120 to be honest, but the higher you go, the more fuel it takes, so it might not be such a bad thing. There we go. Alright, so we're going to do orbital maneuvers, and I'll get back to you. I'll hand it over to post-commentary Harvey, and I'll get back to you once we are getting close to our mission being a success, I guess. We're not docking with anything, so yeah. So yes, it is time to get this core of our interplanetary fleet into orbit and docked successfully. No, not docked. I've just said we're not docking. What am I talking about? Successfully into an orbit, and it needs to be a good orbit, certainly. This is going to be too long, isn't it? Thinking about it now. This is playing at just 2 times speed. I'm wondering how long it's going to take. It shouldn't take too long at all, actually, so I guess I was on the verge of stopping and editing the video to make it go faster, but I think we're okay with 2 times speed, actually. So we're just building and building our apoapsis. Building and building and building. We could unset the moon from being our target, seeing as we've got our inclination pretty much correct. Of course, it probably should be perfect, but we don't really care about the minor details, do we? We've got our apoapsis up to 120 kilometers in the interests of time warp and whatnot, and just because it's a stable orbit, quite high, quite low, pretty good, I think. It's a pretty good height. Actually, if we go just past the apoapsis and burn up, we can even decrease it a little, which isn't exactly what we want, but I found there's little tips and tricks you can use to adjust your orbit just so accurately. I'm going to have to make a separate video explaining them, because now really isn't the time. But as you can see, we've burned too much and we've gone over. Not particularly accurate of me, I have to admit. So our apoapsis has raised up to 130. So I was going to warp to the apoapsis and adjust our periapsis first, but I pressed the wrong key, so we go all the way around it. And instead we're going to stop around here, And what we can do is burn straight upwards. This will raise the periapsis to our current altitude and lower the apoapsis to a bit lower. I don't really know exactly what it'll become. But our current altitude is around 120 kilometers, so that saves two problems. It kills two birds with one stone. Because we lower our apoapsis slightly and we raise our periapsis to our current altitude. And then we can just burn retrograde and make sure our apoapsis is down to a roughly spherical, a roughly circular orbit. What would a spherical orbit look like? I've got no idea. But yeah, there we go. We have a 120 kilometer circular orbit. Now all that remains to do in this little segment of post-commentary is to turn our module all the way till it's pointing northward. Because obviously as we go around Kerbal, we want to stay pointing in one direction so it's easier to dock and we don't end up spinning head over heels. And there we go. Oh, we can also open the comms dishes. That's probably something we want to do. Although I think I actually forget and do it later. Thinking about it now. Oh well, back to... No, there we go. It's open now. Not so bad memory after all. Returning both to live commentary Harvey and to the VAB now, we have a new aim. Something else to try and round off the episode, because I want to make the episodes more focused on one specific task rather than on what I managed to complete in that one day. So what we're doing is stripping off all of the extremities, because we're actually going to make the new refueler. I was tempted to use the old refueler, but I decided that if the interest is to get as much fuel there as possible, then we're probably fooling ourselves by thinking that's the best way to do it. Really using a probe would probably be the best way to do it, but I find docking is easier with the crew. I haven't really sat down and decided what the reason for that is. I think maybe advanced SAS works better with the crew. I think that's probably it actually. I think that ships keep themselves pointing in one direction without you having to adjust all the time. Because that really annoys me. But anyway, we're going to... how many do we want? Yeah, if we have 4 and we put them same distance away from centre of mass, or at least roughly the same. Is that about the same? I need some proper way of telling actually. How about... Oh no, because that's not going to be perfect, is it? If we have that there, and we can probably deduce it's around there. Come on, it's got to be around there. Something like that. There we go. I think that's actually all we need, really, for our refueler. We're just taking up fuel and RCS fuel. Liquid fuel, oxidizer, and monopropellant. And that's all we really need, I think. Yes, that should be fine. Simple mission, and we should get plenty of fuel up with this. There we go, we can rename this the Inter-Planetary Refueler. Oh, actually no, it's not. It's not a refueler, is it? Wait, if we call it Space Station Refueler Mark II. There we go. That was the other one, wasn't it? If we take a look at our folder, we should be able to have the Space Station Refueler Mark... Oh, I did Mark I, not Mark 1. Ah, crap, hang on, wait. Delete that. Yeah, delete it. Cancel. We want to call this Mark II. There we go. Aye, Captain. That's what we're calling it. Space Station Refueler Mark II. There we go. Beautiful. Let's fly this thing to the space station, shall we? To the launch pad. And here we are on the launch pad. So, our space station is just coming overhead now, and we're at the correct time of day to launch our launch window. And that's something I think I need to calculate, actually, if I want to start playing this game seriously. Which I don't, so I'm not going to. But certainly if I want to do like a race to see who can dock the fastest, I want to work out the orbital period of the space station. And I want to also do some tests to see how quickly I can get to a specific orbital height and what trajectory I need to take to get there the fastest. And by doing that, I should be able to work out how far ahead or how far behind of us the space station needs to be in its orbit for our launch window to be perfect and stuff. You can actually notice that we haven't got any supporting struts between our engine and our refueler, that method that I'm using now, but it doesn't seem to be affecting us all that much. We do get some quite vicious wobbling, but it seems to be okay. And in the interests of changing our inclination to more suit our target inclination, we actually just burn a little above 90, a little more towards the 180 marker. And we've got a pretty good altitude. We can separate away from our ascent engine. That engine, with the extra 2, because we started off with 4 ascent engine cluster things surrounding that one ascent engine. By adding another 2 and bringing it up to 6, we get so much more thrust out of that for a longer duration. It's really necessary, despite wasting a lot more fuel. This is why I'm looking forward to career mode so much, because career mode is what the game needs. It is the Kerbal Space Program, not the Kerbal Rocket Simulator. It's a space program, and with that you need to be able to manage your finances and, you know, public popularity and all that rubbish that holds back our real life space programs. Although it's rubbish, it's still necessary for the actual space program to work. So, or for the actual space programs, I should say, to work. So I can't wait till career mode. I can't wait to do a let's play of that and actually balance up the pros against the cons. I do tutorials on how to get as much money for your program as possible. I'm looking forward to that. I certainly am. So we've reached our apoapsis, and now we're working on circularizing. We're just tilting up so that our apoapsis doesn't go too far behind us, doesn't escape us, and we can pitch up and down as appropriate to keep it level until we get a roughly circular orbit, about 110. That places us 10 kilometers below the orbit of our target station. And with that, because it's a shorter distance to go around Kerbin, we should be able to catch it up in no time at all. So we get just a bit behind it. And using the flight planning, we can actually burn prograde and raise our apoapsis up to the same target altitude, and we'll see how far we are going to be separated from it at our closest approach. 13, 12, 11, 10 kilometers or so, 3 kilometers was that? 1.4. That seems pretty good, so we can warp in, get ever closer. I can tell you, I haven't had to change my inclination for a rendezvous mission for quite a while now. I must have done 10 or so before having to change it. But anyway, we're coming up to our closest approach, so we want to make sure we're pointing retrograde relative to the target velocity. Man, I do say complicated things now, don't I? But yeah, basically we want to slow our relative velocity to the target. And once that is pretty much at a standstill, 0.1 meters per second, or 0.2 now, we can actually point towards it and start burning in that vague direction. For some reason I don't have a marker. There's no yellow diamond to tell me where it is, so I have to kind of try and pick out the pixels on my low resolution display. It's certainly not low resolution, but it's not particularly high resolution either. It's a laptop screen, what do you expect? But the point is, that marker's gone, and I don't know where it's gone to. Is this my fault, or is it a bug in the game? I would rather like a response from that. If you guys know what's going on there, then drop me a comment. We're getting closer, much closer in fact. Once again, pointing retrograde and cancelling out our relative velocity. 0.3 meters per second, and we are at that stage where we can point directly towards it. After a bit of a sudden spin, we can point towards 180 degrees, which is south, and we're going to dock nose to nose because our station is pointing north. So there we are, pointing in the correct orientation. Yes, orientation, not inclination, orientation. And we need to swap over and open up both the shields, set the target, and we're ready to RCS our way in. Reaction control system. We're just moving the prograde marker until it matches, or until it's sitting directly on top of the pink marker. The yellow marker, for those of you who don't know, shows what direction you're going in, your velocity vector, and the pink marker shows where your what orientation you are to your target, so where you need to point in order to be pointing directly at your target. Ergo, if you are moving in the direction of your target, then you should be able to dock pretty easily, and we do, just like that. Man. These missions are getting into a very nice routine. It's very fun, very satisfying to pull off these maneuvers. I like it. Even though it's repetitive, it's still pretty good. Now, transferring fuel. It turns out we have just enough fuel to fill up the tank and have a bit left over. Certainly enough left over to deorbit this. But the problem with that, the big problem, is that there's crew inside it and we don't have any parachutes. And that's never going to happen, in short words. So what we're going to do is transfer the crew over. Luckily, I have a use for them. They're not going to be just dead weights. Unless they are going to be dead weights, we can always send escape pods to go collect them and bring them back down to the Space Program Center. But yeah, look, for now we have the Hitchhiker storage container where we can swap over everyone and put them in there. And that's it for Post-Commentary Harvey. We'll return now to Live Commentary Harvey and all that jazz. And here we are with our final crew transfer back to Live Commentary Harvey for the ending of the video. I think this has been a success, a very big success actually. And surprisingly, this fuel tank still has fuel left within it, which raises some problems that I'm sure Post-Commentary Harvey has already discussed. But anyway, as we transfer the last person over and get them inside, that is the end of the video. We shall separate this, and we'll switch over to... oh no, we are over to it, with no one inside, and we can detonate it. Unfortunately, we detonate it directly next to the Inter-Planetary Fleet, but that doesn't seem to be a problem. We'll switch back to it now, there we go. And there it is. Here we have our final interplanetary core. So what we're going to do next time, I think our next mission shall be to put the engines on it, the next segment, because everything is full, which is great, which is absolutely what we want from this. So guys, thanks for watching this video. If you liked the video, then please do like the video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.